Coming to the introduction of database management system, before going in depth of DBMS, let us describe two important terms that are being used often regularly in DBMS that are nothing but data and information. Can anybody define what is the difference between data and information? Data can be defined as collection of raw facts that are either unstructured or unorganized, which conveys nothing to the users and which occur random in nature and which are useless. So the data can be defined as collection of raw facts which occurs random manner, which are useless, which conveys nothing to the user, either they are unorganized and unstructured. Those kinds of items will be called as data. For example, my name is Sujata, you are a girl, she is a student. All these things are the raw facts. These are the real things. This is a fan. This is a real thing. So, which conveys nothing. These can be called as data items. So, while coming to the second term, that is nothing but information. The information can be defined as processed data, organized data, structured data. So, this is the difference between data and information. So, let us describe and discuss the differences between data and information with some real world example. See, for example, I am having an apple seed. I want to grow an apple tree out of that apple tree. What is required? That apple tree has to be put in some container. It has to be put in front of the sun, and I need to apply some water and fertilizer. Then only an apple tree is being grown. So here in this example, whatever may be the raw fact I am having, raw item I am having is apple seed. While applying certain kinds of processing, what is the processing I have done? I have kept that seed in a container, and that container with an apple seed has been put in front of the sun, applied water as well as fertilizer. Then only the outcome comes. That outcome is nothing but apple tree has been grown. That is the information. So here in this example, the data is apple seed. Some processing has been applied, and that time has been converted into information. That is nothing but apple tree has been grown. So let us describe the differences between data and information with some figure. See, this figure illustrates the difference between data and information clearly. I am having several data items. All the data items, after being processed, those data items have been converted into information. So, after that, while coming into our subject, the first time I am going to define is database. Can anybody define what is a database? Database. Let me define. A database can be defined as organized collection or structured collection of either data or information that are related to a particular entity or collection of entities. So what is a database? Database can be defined as collection of either structured or organized data or information which are related to a particular entity or collection of entities. Here one another term comes into picture. What is the term? Entity. An entity can be described as any real world object. Any real world object. This chair, table, fan, board, anything that occurs physically, we can feel, we can touch. All those things can be defined as real world objects. That real world objects can be called as entity. Regarding one particular entity or regarding some collection of entities, if you have collected certain data items, all that collected data items regarding one particular entity will be described as a database. So for example, you yourself or the student I want to collect the data items regarding the students. That collection of information is nothing but student database. What are the data items I can store in the student database? What are the data items I can gather regarding the students? That are nothing but student name, roll number, marks, address, and phone number. So these kind of data items. If I have stored regarding all the students, such large collection of data items is described as nothing but a database. So this is a data. This figure clearly explains what is a database. I am having several kinds of data items. All the data items collectively, they have been stored in one central place, that is nothing but a database. Collection of different kinds of data items. Storage place where the different data items that are related to a particular entity is being stored, that is nothing but that can be defined as a database. So with this brief definition of database, let us coming to our subject, that is nothing but database management system. We define as a software. Software already you know. The software is nothing but is a collection of programs which assist in majorly three tasks. The first task is creation of the database, that is nothing but designing of the database. Second task is assisting the database, accessing the database. The third one is maintaining the database. So all these three activities are going to be performed by means of a set of programs, that is nothing but DBMS. So what are these three activities? Let us explain all these three activities in detail. What is the first activity? The first activity is nothing but designing of the database. What is the meaning of designing the database? Already you know what is a database? Collection of different data items. What are the data items that are needed to be stored in my database? What is the format of the database? How the database has to be created? All these things can be called as designing of the database. These design issues are being dealt in an easier way by means of collection of programs, that is nothing but DBMS. The second task is accessing the database. What is the meaning of accessing? Accessing is nothing but retrieval of our desired information from the collection of stored information in the database is called as accessing. For example, lot amount of data has been stored in Google. If I ask regarding some particular movie, that is our required information. Only the details regarding that particular information is being retrieved and that is being outputted by means of the Google site. That is called as accessing. Accessing is nothing but retrieval of the desired information from the stored collection of data is called as accessing. The third issue is nothing but maintenance of the database. Maintenance of the database is nothing but adding some more items to the already existed database or deletion of already existed data items from the database or updation of already existed data items, replacing the older ones with some new data items is called as updation. So all these three activities in together is called as maintenance. So these three tasks that are nothing but designing, accessing and maintenance of the database can be performed by means of collection of programs, that is nothing but DBMS. There exist another types of software also which will perform all of these tasks. But what is the purpose of this DBMS is it can perform all these three tasks in an effective and efficient manner. An effective and efficient manner. So this is the definition of DBMS. So in together, DBMS is a software that assists in designing, accessing, maintaining the database in an effective and efficient manner. So the next one is the next topic in the first unit is what are the differences between the conventional file processing system and the database management system. Let us describe now. So these are the advantages of utilizing DBMS software over the file processing environment. You'll see what are the advantages. The first advantage is redundancy can be reduced. The next one is inconsistency can be avoided. Data can be shared. Standards are enforced. Security restrictions are applied and integrity is being maintained. So these are the advantages that are being provided by means of the DBMS software over the conventional file processing environment. I will discuss all these advantages in detail now. So what is the first advantage? The first advantage is nothing but data redundancy. What is redundant data? The same data which appears in more than one place at a time, that is called as redundant data or duplicated data. So why the removal of this redundancy is required, we can explain now with a real world example. See here, I have considered some scenario. One BTech student has been joined. Whenever some engineering student has been joined in a college, his or her details are going to be stored in more than one place. For example, I have considered three such places. The student details are being stored in office, department, as well as in exam cell. I have considered, I have represented such two kinds of students. What are the details I have considered? Roll number, name, and phone number of the two students have been considered. The first student name is 1, roll number is 1, name is Sujata, and her phone number is something. The second student roll number is 2, name is Vinnu, and phone number is something. These two details regarding these two persons have been stored in three places. What are the three places? Office, department, and exam cell. At these three levels, the same information has been stored. So these two records are being called as a duplicated records, or they can be called as a redundant records. Why this redundancy is a problem? What will happen if there exists redundant data? We'll see. For example, the phone number of Sujata has been changed. She has informed only in the office. So the data of the phone number of Sujata has been changed only in the office, but it has remained same at department level as well as the exam cell. So updation has been done. The new information has been stored only at the office level, but it remains same at the department as well as the exam cell. So what will happen? For example, if somebody wants to access the phone number of Sujata, how many results will come? At office level, from one phone number will come. From exam cell and department level, another phone number will come. So out of these two results, which one is correct? How can we identify? We can't identify which one of them are correct. So this problem is called as inconsistency, data inconsistency. The problem of data inconsistency has been raised only because of the fact that is nothing but data redundancy. The cause of the inconsistency is nothing but redundancy. If you are having the conventional file processing system, and ultimately all this collection of data is being stored in the files, definitely there is a chance of redundancy. Huge amount of data is being replicated. Out of the redundancy, ultimately the inconsistency will come. These are the two important drawbacks of the file processing environment, which are going to be avoided, which are going to be reduced by means of our software, that is nothing but database management system. If you use the DBMS instead of file processing system, we can assure that redundancy can be removed or it can be reduced up to the low level, and there is no chance of inconsistency to be raised. So the next advantage of the DBMS over the file processing environment is data sharing. Data sharing. As its name indicates, what is the meaning of sharing? Data sharing. The same data has to be accessed by multiple users simultaneously is being called as data sharing, or it can be called as concurrent access. What is the meaning of concurrent access? The same data has to be accessed by multiple users at the same time without having any problem of inconsistency is called as concurrent access. For example, if you want to book some movie ticket, the movie database is there. That movie database is being accessed by several users within a fraction of seconds. The same data is being accessed by more than one user. For example, within this time, at this particular moment of time, one particular seat is available, A4 seat is available. Some two persons are being accessing that A4 seat is empty. The two persons are being attempting to reserve that seat. What will happen if the two persons are attempting to reserve that seat? The same seat is allocated for more than one user. This is an inconsistency, incorrectness. So this type of inconsistency will occur in the case of file processing system if the same data is being accessed by more than one user at the same time. But this problem of inconsistency, while the concurrent access is supported, can be avoided if you are using the DBMS software. That means the DBMS provides the concurrent access, accessing of the data simultaneously by multiple users without any chance of inconsistency. So this is the advantage of DBMS. So while coming to the next advantage is nothing but enforcement of the standards. Enforcement of the standards. What is the meaning of standards? Standards are nothing but certain protocols, certain rules are being imposed to be followed while creation of the database. The data should be in this particular format. The data should be stored in this particular format. The naming convention should be like this. The structure of the data should be like this. There is a particular protocol, already defined protocol, already defined standard is there that must be used by the creators of any type of databases. If any database creator has followed this standard protocol, whenever he is developing the database, that database is being exported to some another person, that some another person can clearly understand what is the meaning of data because the name has been applied, the structure of the data has been applied, the format of the data has been applied, following the same protocol which is being used by the creator as well as the users. So if there exists a standard protocol, this type of portability is being maintained without a chance of clash, without a chance of misunderstanding for the creators as well as the users. This standards enforcement is being maintained if you use the DBMS software, which is not possible in the case of your file processing environment. So this is the another advantage. So while coming to the next advantage of the DBMS, the security of the data can be improved if you use a database management system while compared to that of your file processing environment. Let us describe how the security can be improved, why the security is needed. For example, I have created our college website, our college database, Nirola database. What is the type of data I am being stored? I store in our Nirola database the details regarding the students, details regarding the faculty, details regarding the infrastructure, the internal details regarding the college, official details are also being stored. What are the details regarding the students? Student name, student roll number, branch, marks, etc. While coming to the faculty details, what are the details that are being stored? Faculty ID, name, branch, and their salary, etc. and etc. While coming to the college details, how many branches are available, what are the branch codes, how many students are eligible for each and every branch, all the details are being stored under the branch details. While coming to the infrastructure details, how many lab facilities are available, how many computer systems are available, what is the equipment that is being used, all that is under the category of furniture details. Official details, the internal salaries of each and every employee, what is the budget allocated to the college, all the details are also being in the college database. So this is a huge repository of information. If this database is being accessed by the outside users, if all of the outside users are also able to access every part of the database, definitely the data is not secure. For example, if some person is accessing, if a student is accessing what is the salary of particular faculty, how much budget is being allocated for our college, that is not required. That is not for the consideration of the student. That type of access must not be provided. Data is nowhere secure. But if you are using the file processing environment, all the details are being exposed to each and every person. The security is less. But in the case of your database management system, even though all the information is being collectively stored in a central place, some part of the data will be granted permission to only certain group of users. We can grant the privileges to particular type of users. The student is having the privilege to access only certain part of the database. The faculty is having the privilege to access certain another part of the database. The principal is having the privilege to access all the part of the database. The chairman is also having the privilege to access all the part of the database. That is ultimately some group of persons are hidden from some part of the database. Students can't access faculty details. Student can't access the internal details of the college details. Faculty can't access all the internal details of the college. So some part of the database is only accessible to some part of the users. All the remaining data is being secured by providing the permissions, by granting the permissions to only some part of the database. That's how the DBMS is providing the access to certain part of the database only to some particular type of users, and this is how the security is improved when compared to that of your file processing environment by using your DBMS software. So the next advantage is integrity maintenance. What is the meaning of integrity? Data integrity, correctness of the data. Integrity is nothing but we must ensure at each and every time of the database utilization, the data is in a valid format. Data is in a correct state. That maintenance is called as integrity maintenance. If you are using the file processing system, maintaining the integrity of the data is a tedious task. Let us explain with some example. For example, I have considered I want to store certain student details as roll number, name and age of a BTech student, and particularly in our college. What is the format of the roll number? The format of the roll number is starting year, admitting year, followed by NN1, A0 if it is a CSE branch starting from 501. If it is a EC branch starting from 401. This is the format how the roll number should look like. But if some another user is entering the data for the roll number, ultimately he may start up from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 like that. But is it valid data for roll number? Definitely it is not the valid data. For example, if you want to enter the values for the age, some person may knowingly or unknowingly may enter the values as -1, 10, 20, 200 and 1000. Here out of these values, what are the invalid values for the age? -1 is ultimately not at all valid. 200 is ultimately not at all a valid value. And 1000 is also not at all a valid value. So these type of incorrect data, invalid data must be ensured without entering into our database. Always the data must be in a consistent state. Consistency is nothing but valid state. So this valid state can be provided to our data in the database by enforcing, by applying certain kinds of conditions that are being called as constraints. Application of constraints on the data, we are ensuring the integrity. So the integrity can be enforced. The integrity can be provided to our database by enforcing certain integrity constraints. What is the meaning of constraint? Constraint is nothing but conditions. So here within our example, what are the conditions I can apply? For the roll number, the format of the roll number I should give it as 17 and 1 something. For the age, I can apply the constraint as the age should be greater than 1 and the age should be less than 100. So definitely whenever some person enters a value for the age, if he enters the age as -1, it will check the integrity constraint. What is the integrity constraint I have applied? Age should be greater than 1 and less than 100. What is our entered value? -1. -1 is not at all greater than 1. So this value is invalid, and entering this invalid data into your database is not at all allowed. So likewise, by enforcing the integrity constraint at each and every point of our database operations, the data is assured to be in a consistent state, to be in a correct state. This is how the integrity can be maintained by means of our software, that is nothing but DBMS, which is not at all possible by means of your file processing environment. So let us recall once again what are the advantages of your database management system. The first one is redundancy can be reduced. Next one is inconsistency can be avoided. Third one is the data can be shared. Concurrent access is provided. Standards are enforced. Security is provided and integrity is maintained. So we'll meet in the next lecture series. Hope you understood up to now.